Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ora News broadcast. I'm Daniel Cook, your host for the English edition, which we have Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. In today's news, the conflict has escalated between the government and the High Council of Justice. After the last meeting of the High Council of Justice, it seems that the conflict between the government and the institution has escalated to a great degree. The failure to take any punitive measure for the judges who were sent for processing by the Ministry of Justice has made the government distance itself from what is happening in the High Council of Justice. They decided to continue reforming the justice system, and especially the top of this system, the High Council of Justice. The National Coordinator for the Fight Against Corruption, Bledi Cucci, has clarified that he will support any initiative by the Ministry of Justice to improve the system. Cucci said, "Yesterday in Albania, the country which has recently received the EU candidate status and the whole society of international partners decided to look forward to the concrete results, the significant improvements in the justice system. The efforts of the Minister of Justice to fight corruption has received a punch from the High Council of Justice," said Cucci. The Albanian government joins the call of the Minister of Justice to the Albanian Parliament and the MPs to make a decision about what they will do with their representatives in the High Council of Justice under the unprecedented decision that was made yesterday at the meeting of the High Council of Justice. A quick response came from the High Council of Justice. The political attack aimed for the control of the Council and qualified the statements and the recent initiatives of the government. The High Council of Justice spokesman, Elise Cucci, said that the institution's activity is being carried out in conformity with the applicable legal framework. According to Cucci, the High Council of Justice attacks are the next steps in the scenario prepared by the government for political control of the judiciary in Albania. Cucci said, "We alert the public that all of this campaign of denigration against the constitutional institution of the High Council of Justice, calculated and launched a long time ago, is a tragic farce which hides the solicitation to control all institutions and every individual who has a public duty today. The High Council of Justice calls on the government to stop the public political attacks and to allow the judiciary to do its work," said Cucci. Since Rama government came to power, the relations between the government and the High Council of Justice have deteriorated. The cause is the draft law concerning the function of the HCJ and the disciplinary proceedings against the judges and council members themselves. Even the majority was divided among themselves today at the Commission of National Security. The majority was divided over the discussions of the bill on the new internal auditing service at the Parliamentary Commission of National Security. The Socialist Deputy, Pierin Ndreu, and the Deputy of the Socialist Movement for Integration, Luan Rama, have objected to the Interior Ministry, in particular about Article 73 of the draft, which has to do with grades. After some tough discussions, Ndreu abandoned the committee. The opposition and the deputy, Luan Rama, were also against Article 73. SMI's deputy, Luan Rama, said that the ranks are being given out in an undeserved way. According to him, there is no country in the world that applies the voluntary modulation of ranks. There was a moment of uncertainty during the original vote for this article. In a second vote, there was a tie, and it is learned that the bill will go to a vote in the Parliament in the form of two versions, one with Article 73 included, and the other without. The compensation of the formerly politically persecuted continues to be an issue in Albania. The government has introduced the changes to the draft law concerning the compensation of the former politically persecuted at the Economic Commission. According to the Minister of Social Welfare and Youth, Erion Valiaj, this law does not provide changes, but simply aims to give a human face to this issue by favoring the persecuted who are still alive. Valiaj said, "They had 8 years to change it, but we did not see any change. Now we are changing the situation. There is no need to politicize it." But to the opposition, these changes are merely an expression of demagogy. According to the MP, Ridvan Bode, in the past 300 days, the government has released only $620,000. He said, "It is a poignant demagogy and expresses nothing but layered ridicule. In 300 days in power, the majority did not find the time, did not find the opportunity to help this category. Though it has received a loan of $1.5 billion, it paid no more than $620,000 to the former politically persecuted," said Bode. This has triggered debates in the committee because, according to Erion Bratse, less money has been distributed after the Democratic Party left behind an empty budget. There were also debates at the committee between the deputy Edmond Spaho and the minister Erion Valiaj. According to Spaho, this government does not keep its promises. The minister Erion Valiaj warned that he would take to court all those who have abused the issue of the persecuted, referring in this case to Fatmir Hoxha. The Parliament of Albania have released statements that harshly criticize the CEC. The CEC has received harsh criticism from Parliament, which considered it to be a biased institution during the election of the 23rd of June. The Service of Monitoring Institutions has prepared a draft, which will be discussed in the Committee of Laws. And according to a document that is in the possession of Aura News, the CEC held a politically biased attitude in the electoral process of last year. They released this statement. The CEC decision regarding some aspects of the preparation of the June 23 elections and the announcement of their results in a number of cases has not respected the principle of unemployment. In the 23rd of June elections, the CEC did not meet some deadlines for the application of some projects and failed to adopt the necessary rules for the implementation of pilot projects, although more time was required than the CEC had at its disposal for this case. The Assembly considers the CEC as being politically motivated to change the composition of the institution. The statement of the Assembly reads, "The CEC decision to change the composition of the election commissions of the lower levels by replacing all members of the 89 commissions of electoral administration zones, which were appointed by the second largest opposition party, was not based on law, and it was in the wake of serious decisions that are considered as being politically motivated. The draft, which will be presented by the Socialist deputy, Blendi Klosi, asked the CEC to begin preparations for the next local elections and to determine, among other things, the election budget, including the funding of the political party's campaign and the consideration of the possibility of using technology in the electoral process and the declaration of results." The Palace of Brigades will be a site for honoring the ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things. Considering the brilliant students of the secondary school of Tirana to be among this category, Prime Minister Edi Rama, who spent the evening in their presence, said that the former Palace of the King will now be the place for honoring common people, such as the high school students who managed to close this stage of their education with success. He said, "Your good results are due to pressure from your mom, dad, and the support of your family. But ultimately, they are the result of a decision that you have made to be what you are today. If you made this decision long ago, and now you have the document that proves your success, it means that you have implemented your decision. I would like to think that part of this decision is to be not only good students and professionals, but also good citizens," said the Prime Minister. Speaking about the presentation of the higher education reform, the Prime Minister assured the students that they would have the government's support in their journey towards knowledge. "We are placing a very important milestone for higher education, and in particular for that point of the reform that causes the government to provide scholarships to support all the excellent students and all those who will continue their studies in Albania," said the Prime Minister Edi Rama. The Democratic Party has accused the Prime Minister Edi Rama of being against the professors and students of the country. The chairman of the Parliamentary Media Commission and the MP of the Democratic Party, Gens Polo, said that the government considers the reform of higher education to be a return to the past, which contains minimalist and monopolistic concepts. In a brief media statement, the Deputy Polo accused the Prime Minister Edi Rama of using a language of hate against professors, students, and pupils. He said, "Yesterday, Edi Rama spoke about education. He did not speak about his affairs, nor did he give any vision for education. He spoke only about national treason, about the declaration of state emergency. I believe that this is a reflection of the state of emergency in the mind of the Prime Minister, who thinks that Albania has started year zero with him as Prime Minister. He continues to use the same unacceptable language against the opposition. This is his innovation, insulting the professors and students and calling them ignorant. After a full year, Prime Minister Rama has not become mature in his job in order to leave behind the language of hate, which is a nihilistic language. As for the proposals that were presented, it is clear that they are characterized as being minimalist, but also negative and monopolistic. I believe that these semi-concepts will be further debunked during the public debate that will follow, even more than it was previously discredited by the public debates that the academic staff have held so far," Polo said. The Speaker of the Assembly, Ilir Meta, is currently in Portugal for an official visit. The Speaker of the Parliament, Mr. Ilir Meta, was received today by the President of the Assembly of the Republic of Portugal, Mrs. Maria Esteves. Mr. Meta and Mrs. Esteves praised the very good bilateral, political, and mutual support at the international level, and the understanding and traditional friendship that exists between the two countries and two people groups. The Speaker of the Parliament of Albania, Mr. Ilir Meta, expressed gratitude for the continued support of Portugal in terms of membership in NATO, the liberalization of the Schengen visa regime for Albanian citizens, and finally, for the approval of the status of candidate country from the European Union. On her part, the President of the Assembly of Portugal, Mrs. Maria Esteves, welcomed Mr. Meta to Portugal and assured him of the Portuguese support in the process of European integration and her willingness to strengthen bilateral parliamentary cooperation. Mrs. Esteves said that Portugal and Albania should cooperate more closely in order to strengthen the European democratic and human values, emphasizing that the visit of Mr. Meta in Lisbon is a concrete motivator for intensifying relations between the two countries. The Speaker of the Parliament, Mr. Meta, noted that the two parliaments have particular weight in strengthening relations between the two countries, noting that the growth of political and economic cooperation between the two countries serve not only the stability and prosperity in the Balkan region, but also the social and economic progress of the Mediterranean basin. In this context, they welcomed the positive and constructive role of Albania in the region, particularly in terms of good neighborly relations. Mr. Meta praised the support that Portugal gives to Kosovo, stressing that this is a valuable contribution to the peace and progress of the Balkan region. The two counterparts discussed the latest developments in the European Union and the neighboring relations of the regions of the Union, noting that the spread and consolidation of the European democratic and human values increased the security and stability throughout the continent. The President of the Assembly, Mr. Meta, invited Mrs. Esteves for a visit to Albania, expressing his belief that the two parliaments have now entered a new stage with dynamic cooperation, which will be further strengthened through friendships and parliamentary counterparts. In conclusion, Mrs. Esteves invited Mr. Meta to the 40th anniversary exhibition of the Portuguese Revolution on the premises of the Parliament, and to an official greeting by the Portuguese MPs at a plenary session in honor of the Albanian delegation. The Albanian citizens have continued to decrease their consumption over the last 3 months. In the latest report of Instat, it is noted that inflation has fallen for 3 months, causing pressure in our economy. The Institute of Statistics says that inflation peaked in June at 1.5%, a decrease from the 2.3%, which was the indicator of the same period a year ago. This inflation rate is much lower than the minimum target, which was set by the Bank of Albania. The bank set the target of being over 2%. The decline in consumption has been a sensitive problem recently in the Albanian economy, and a further decline of inflation is expected to constrain the Bank of Albania from continuing to reduce the rate of interest as an opportunity to boost the economy. From the data, we understand that although there is a price reduction, the citizens are uncertain about the future, and this has caused them to save more. According to the Instat, compared to June 2013, the largest increase in prices was observed in the sector of goods and services, with 8.2%, followed by alcoholic beverages and tobacco with 6.9%. The biggest decline in prices was observed in the sector of health, with 6.3%, followed by the sector of clothing and footwear with 2.0%, and communication with 1.3%. A protest was held today by the disabled people of Tirana. They protested outside the building of the municipality. Disabled people protested today in front of the municipality of Tirana since they are not allowed to travel for free on the bus after the agreement reached by Minister Valiaj with the Transport Association. According to the head of the National Association of Invalids of Labor, Abdullah Omuri, invalids are forcibly being expelled from the buses. The disabled are not allowed to travel for free. We have 5 denunciations of violence exerted by the bus conductors, he said. The protest was held against the municipality because this is the institution that sets the criteria. He continued, "We will protest before the Ministry of Transport as well. There are over 22,000 disabled people that are being affected. The agreement was breached by the Association of Transport. Only the bus line, Tirana-Kamez, applies the agreement concerning the disabled," he said, among other things. The municipality has immediately reacted, saying that the government should find a solution to the situation. In a statement, the municipality said, "The disabled are being misused politically. The Minister of Social Welfare accepted the responsibility for disabled people. The Association of the Disabled should ask those who are responsible. The government should provide solutions for the situation that has been created." The Tirana municipality, among others, calls the disabled not to allow themselves to be used politically, while urging the government to implement the law that has been changed. The government of Albania is making legal changes in order to maintain the roads of the country. The need for maintenance of the national roads and the high cost has forced the government to prepare legal changes. The General Secretary of the Ministry of Transport, Edward Saitai, said that so far the concession procedures have failed because no company has showed interest and because the government has done no study on the maintenance cost of these roads. For the opposition, a new law is necessary. Ruli declared that these changes implicate the Democratic Party government because of the importance of concessions. The changes in this bill were passed only with the votes of the majority. With these changes, the government aims to create opportunities for the application of rules and procedures through which the financing and maintenance of the national road will be provided. A quantity of 100 kilograms of narcotics was seized this morning by the police in an operation codenamed Pixies. The drugs were being transported using 2 mules, and they were found in the area of the municipality of Chepo in Gjirokastra. The specialists of narcotic crimes had received information that 2 citizens were transporting bags of marijuana using pack animals from the Broad Mountain in the direction of Vlora. The police were sent in their pursuit immediately. As soon as the traffickers saw the police, they abandoned the pack animals and fled into the forest, taking advantage of the steep and forested terrain. Both citizens have already been identified and are wanted by the police. The narcotics are suspected to have come through the Broad Mountain Pass from the village of Lazarat days ago. The War Veterans Association in Kosovo has said that they will support the Albanian faction. The KLA War Veterans Organization has issued a press statement as a reaction to the recent events in Macedonia by supporting the continuation of protests in Macedonia and at the embassies of this state around the world. The organization has also expressed its readiness to help in order to put an end to what they call a Slav repression. According to them, the unsuccessful repression for the submission of the great Albanian soul continues in the 21st century, culminating with the recent Monstra trial, where, without any proof, 6 young Albanian men were sentenced to life imprisonment. According to the Veterans Organization, all of this has been enabled through the intervention of the Serb state, backed by prosecutors and judges, who want to ban Albanians from their lands. The statement reads, "By closely following the situation, the KLA War Veterans Organization demands a retrial of the Monstra case with international monitors. The authorities of Kosovo must not extradite the 2 youths of this group who are in the prisons of Kosovo, and we invite the governments of Albania and Kosovo to coordinate with the Albanian political social factors in Macedonia in order to have a national strategy which is lacking. We encourage the continuation of protests in Macedonia and the embassies of the artificial Macedonian state everywhere in the world," reads the statement. The Veterans Organization also hopes that protests will not be restricted by Albanian political parties and also by the Macedonians and their anti-Albanian structures. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the news for this evening. Thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow at 6 p.m. for more Albanian news in English, only here on Ora News. Thank you and good night.